All right. So, April, describe a difficult or sad case or an uplifting case that you have worked with.
So probably one of my most difficult cases was when I was working as a veterinary assistant for a mobile veterinarian out in California. We had been treating this boxer for a while. You know, she was very in love with us. We were in love with her. And we'd seen her for so long. She was battling cancer. Eventually, she had to have her rear right leg amputated due to the cancer. Eventually, we couldn't do anything more for her, and we had to euthanize her. And being with that family, seeing them cry, was the only time I've ever cried in front of a client. I've had to pick myself back together, make it out to the car with the body, cry it out some more, and then make it on to the next appointment.
And did this impact your decision to go forward and get your DVM?
Yes, most definitely. I want to do everything I possibly can to avoid any of those cases for other families.
Okay. And Savannah, how about you?
I have a difficult and an uplifting case. So my difficult or sad case, we had been, as April had, we had been treating this dog for a while. She would come in and stay with us boarding-wise when her family would go away. And she was very old. She was an old golden retriever. Her name was Darby. And she had a lot of tumors on her body that were just eating her alive, basically. And so she was really suffering. She was getting to the point where she was not comfortable at all in her situation. And so the night that I took her down, she had come in that morning for day boarding to stay with us because her parents were going to be out of the house and they didn't want to leave her at the house. So she came into us. She was doing good. She was walking. And then she came in, and that night when I went to take her out to use the bathroom, she wouldn't move. Her legs just had stopped working. She didn't have the will to move. She didn't have the motivation. So me and my coworker had carried her downstairs to the doctor, and they had run an ultrasound, they run a radiograph, and they came back to us and said that she's got fluid on her liver. And she's getting fluid in her lungs. So they called the family. The immediate family happened to be in Mexico. So the distant family had to come in. They were about 45 minutes away, and just sitting there with Darby, comforting her when she had no one there was really hard for me because she was very confused. She was hurting. She was in pain. So trying to help her as much as I could was very emotionally hard on myself, but I had to keep myself together to help comfort her more.
Mm-hmm. And did that just affect your decision to move forward?
Yes, it did. I know that I'm going to have these cases. I know that I'm going to have cases where families don't want to do anything or they can't do anything due to finances. I know that I'm going to encounter those. And so I've really got to be strong, get the mental and emotional capacity to handle those cases, and think to myself that I'm doing what I can and doing the best that I can, and I can't affect how someone chooses what they can do. I can only affect how I react. Mm-hmm. So it didn't falter me from steering away from DVM. It actually pushed me more to do that because I want to do more good for families.
And you mentioned you also had an uplifting case?
I did. So as I said before, we had a French Bulldog came in. His surgery was going to add up to around $20,000 to $30,000. And the family just couldn't afford it, but they didn't want to euthanize him either. So in that case, they surrendered him over to the hospital. They surrendered all custody and all ownership over to our hospital. And he came in, and he was partially paralyzed from the waist down. And so getting to see the procedure done, getting to see them help his nerves and his discs get back into place, and then just helping with his therapy to seeing him twitch his foot for the first time. It was very inspirational. It was very uplifting, and helped me have hope for more cases that we have that come in.
And April, what will you do with the DVM if you don't go into private practice?
So I actually don't wish to go into private practice at all. I hope to join the U.S. Army to be a veterinarian for them and work with military working dogs out in the field, hopefully maybe even research to help these guys out, and possibly my big ambition, it's a big one, is to change the procedures on how military working dogs are handled, how they are evaluated upon retirement, and getting them the best possible care leaving the military.
And what piqued your interest in that?
So in high school, I actually went to high school on a military base, so I had the opportunity to work alongside Army veterinarians and working with them, and there have been a couple cases of our military working dogs not being retired out and euthanized simply because they were deemed aggressive by civilian veterinarians versus Army veterinarians that are experienced out in the field and back home with these guys.
April, how would you handle a situation in which you knew a classmate was cheating?
So, sadly, this actually had happened to me this semester. In my philosophy class, we were getting ready to take our exam. I noticed the girl sitting next to me was not only peering over my exam, but writing every single answer I had down verbatim. And initially, right after the exam, I went to my professor and I told him everything that I had witnessed, and I let him know that something was happening.
Savannah, what kind of large animal experience do you have?
I have quite a few large animal experience. I worked for over 10 years, as a volunteer, a manager, an instructor, a teacher, and a counselor at Lazy P Ranch, which is a horse boarding farm. I maintained the well-being and the husbandry of the horses, as well as informed clients, boarders, and new riders on how to help groom the horses, how to keep them in the best health that they can be in, how to properly ride them, how to properly handle them, how to properly train them, and things of that nature. I'm now doing that, and I started a new part-time job as a stable hand, and I am furthering my experience in training horses more to the disciplinary that the rider wants to do, so whether it be Western riding, whether it be English riding, more groundwork as well, and then diversifying myself within that training.
Okay, thank you.